Alright, here's, you're taking it off your Addi Express. Here's the amber color for the bottom of the sock. And then you have the Pipsqueak yarn for the foam. And then you have your waist yarn. Now, for the toe, you're just going to pull it tight. And then you're going to finish that off, hold it, making it secure. Which is just a yarn needle in this extra length. And I go through the stitches of the first round and pull it tight. And pull that as tight as you can get it so there is no hole. And then after I've gone around the full circle, I'm going to go backwards just to secure it more. And then I'll put the thread inside and weave in the ends with a duplicate stitch on the inside of the yarn. Now, let me get my needle out of here. Now you have, this is the inside of your foam. Now I'm going to fold it down so that the waist yarn comes even with the bottom of the Pipsqueak yarn. And the extra length that I left on the Pipsqueak yarn, I'm going to thread that through a needle. And then I'm just going to do a duplicate stitch through both layers. And that's going to hold your cuff down. See, just go through both layers all the way around. Now you got your foam is sewn down, and then you have this waist thread that you can pull off. And a lot of people like to cut it off. I don't, because I use it over and over. I have a little can of waist thread. And sometimes it is difficult to get it out from all these stitches, and I might cut those, but normally I try to reuse my waist thread until it just pretty much falls apart. Now for the handles, I did 22 rounds on the small Addi, and I'm pulling the ends, both ends tight. As tight as I can get them. Now, I've got a tube. Now I'm going to roll this tube as tight as I can get it. And I'm going to close it up right there with a mattress stitch. Just use that leftover piece. And tuck that in. Now, mattress stitch, you just pick up a stitch on one side and a stitch on the other side. And you keep going. A stitch on one side, a stitch on the other side. I'm going quickly here, so it's a little bit crooked. And then when you get to the end, you're just going to pull it tight. And then you won't, if you pull it just right, you won't see these stitches at all. See how you have it there? When you pull it, it just looks like another row of stitches, but I'm trying to get this one as tight as possible to make the handle as thin as possible. Now, if you don't like this handle, because it comes out a little bit thick, there are other ways to do it. The original pair I did, I crocheted the handles, and I used an H hook and had 9 stitches in the circle and just crocheted in the rounds until the length that I wanted. You can also, if you have an Addi egg, or you can use double pointed needles, or double pointed needles. I would probably do 8 stitches going around. And you just pull that tight, and that one's not going to want to do it. Okay, but that's how you'll have your handle. And then you have your socks. And you sew one end here and one end here. And here you have your beer mug socks done on the Addi knitting machine. Now, if you don't like the way they come out, the handles come out on the Addi, they come out a little bit thick as you roll them up. I'm showing you two other options. This is a size G hook, crochet hook, 9 single crochet in a circle, and make a tube of 4 inches. This one is knitted on 5.5 millimeter knitting, double pointed knitting needles, also 4 inches in length. Now, I use these quite a bit. You can use fiber fill, but I like these. You take the metal out. These are flexible foam curlers. And you trim it to fit, because they usually come in 6-inch or 8-inch lengths. So I just trim it down and insert it in there. And it gives you a much more firm, rather than fiber fill. And then you just sew them on where you like them. I'm going to put mine a little bit up high. And then just sew both ends to the side.